I believe that Megumi single-handedly holds the entire direction of the story in his hands. Call me crazy, but let me explain myself. Megumi Fushiguro is the deuteragonist of Jujutsu Kaisen and really the only character that's had as much build-up as Yuji Itadori. I mean, even in a comatose state, bro is still getting built up. From his talent to Sukuna's possession and how I believe the effect of this possession can control the entire narrative. In this video, we'll be talking about a lot of things when it comes to Megumi, and why my thoughts on him have recently taken a complete 180. As we know, Megumi has always had some of the highest levels of talent in this series. Megumi has always been the one to devise a plan or find a quick counter to his opponents' plans, techniques, or whatever, and that's only the beginning. There's been many statements of Megumi being a genius as he started as a grade 2 sorcerer, and that really the only thing holding him back from standing alongside Gojo was his own mental restraints. He didn't really have anything driving him, forcing him to become much stronger, such as Yuta did, but Yuta also just had a much better starting point, but you get what I'm saying here. Megumi doesn't only just have his immense talent, but he also possesses the 10 shadows, this curse technique having a good case to be the best in the series. We know that this alone gives him a case to eventually become a special grade sorcerer and stand with the strongest. Gojo himself insinuated a long time ago that this would even give him a chance to defeat Gojo in a battle. And we do see this as the case when it comes to Sukuna, King of Curses. When Sukuna's use of the 10 shadows were brought up in the Megumi becoming the strongest discussion, people would always say, well, Megumi's not Sukuna, so this doesn't really apply or help much. We know Sukuna's just a genius on another level. And, well, you won't believe what just happened in chapter 258 of Jujutsu Kaisen. When Kusakabe asked Yuji why his growth rate as a sorcerer has been so extraordinarily fast in comparison to every other sorcerer, before Yuji could say it was just his own talent, Kusakabe explains that it was actually Sukuna using high-level techniques in Jujutsu in his body, and due to that, his body remembers the usage of Sukuna's extreme special grade Jujutsu, pinpointing Sukuna as the cause of Yuji's growth. And while this may not be the case and Kusakabe only knows so much, and Yuji may have more than just Sukuna in his body, the point still stands. There is a massive benefit to your strength when Sukuna inhabits your body. And well, Megumi is going to reap the benefits of this much more than Yuji did. Because Sukuna did not possess Yuji for even 1% of the time that he's been possessing Megumi. He's been in Yuji's body for much longer, sure, but actively using Yuji's body in his Jujutsu is not even close. He's been truly operating in Megumi's body for much longer. And I don't think there's anything outright confirming that this is going to play a role, but I am pointing this out so people aren't surprised in the event that it does play a role and start screaming ass pulling their favorite buzzwords over the internet. Not only this, in Megumi's body, Sukuna was pushed to his limits against Gojo and forced to actually put in some effort into his movement and practice of Jujutsu. Couple this all with Sukuna's usage of the 10 shadows, conquering of Maharaga, mastery of binding vow usage, black flashes, something Megumi hasn't done, barrierless domain expansion, and just way more. We can only imagine how strong of a sorcerer Megumi will be when he's freed from Sukuna. He is quite literally going to have it all, or at least a blueprint to having it all depending on how Gege decides to handle this. Okay, so with that said, I can confidently say that in terms of strength, Megumi at least has the potential to become the strongest, or even more potential now for those who already believe this. But even if he comes out with all of this power, how does it relate to Megumi holding the direction of the story in his hand? So, I think from a meta and logical sense, it would only make sense for Megumi to have a purpose behind gaining all of this power that he may or may not obtain. I can't see Gege just saying Sukuna took over Megumi's body and gave him even more talent and the blueprint to everything, but the story's ending so we'll never see it in action. Nah, he's gonna do something with it. So personally, I am one of those folks who believe that Megumi will be freed and somehow the merger will be activated despite Sukuna's impending defeat and be the final boss. This merger is supposed to be something that lies beyond cursed energy as a concept and potentially create a new power system in Jujutsu Kaisen. At least according to Kenjaku, so it's bound to be busted. I can see everybody getting together and taking it on. However, there is another way that Megumi's character can go after being freed from Sukuna, and you guys all know what it is. Yes, evil Megumi. This theory proposes that Megumi will come out of Sukuna and just proceed with the merger plan regardless. To start, the foundation of Megumi's entire purpose and really most of his actions are driven by his stepsister Sumiki. Due to their parents abandoning them, one was all the other ever had until Gojo came into the picture. Despite this, he naturally prioritized her and her well-being more than anything else in the entire world. He chose to become a Jujutsu sorcerer, only because it would keep her safe and nothing else. So when Megumi enters the culling game for the sake of saving her from Kenjaku, we see that he was already beginning to head down a dark path, as he was becoming so desperate to save his sister that he would kill any in his way, and wouldn't even bother to hear the perspective of those he was negotiating with. Ironically, this would cost Megumi his life, because Reggie would curse him, and Reggie had ended up correct about the bomb that Kenjaku was gonna drop, but Megumi just wasn't trying to hear it. We know that this was only the beginning of Megumi's character breaking, as Sukuna would just take over his body and kill both his stepsister and Gojo, as he could do nothing but cry in the shadows, and as of the last time we've seen him, he no longer wants to even exist in this world, as he refuses to allow Yuji to save him. I didn't really see a reason that Megumi would turn evil and proceed with the merger despite these reasons, but I guess I was able to find one. When Megumi defeats Reggie Star, he's given a curse by him, something along the lines of letting fate toy with him and dying like a fool or clown. As we can see, fate has been toying with him. The world has unjustly taken everything away from him, and when he's given up, he'll be forcefully dragged back into this world to, only from his perspective, suffer even more. Megumi has lost the will to live a long time ago. I can see Megumi foolishly deciding to take his anger and hatred out on the world itself by attempting to destroy with the merger, rather than just moving on from everything, and in the end, really accomplish nothing doing all of this, as he'll be stopped, and maybe even the opposite will occur, the eradication of cursed energy and the end of this endless marathon that is Jujutsu sorcery. With Sukuna operating Megumi's body for as long as he has, I can see it going down that way too. I just need a little more convincing to believe this side, rather than Megumi just being used as an asset against the merger that is going to be ultra uber powerful. But I'm sure I'm missing some other reasons as to why Megumi could turn evil, bad, unstable when he returns. What I know for certain is, when Megumi returns, he is going to be broken beyond belief. All this to say, I do believe that Megumi holds the narrative in his hands because again, I can't see Gege giving Megumi all of this power and just expecting him to do nothing with it. Megumi is not Kashimo or Yuki, who needs to rely completely on subtext and the reader being able to interpret past the pretty pictures to understand their characters. He is the deuteragonist and one who hasn't really gotten much of a massive payoff. So here, if Gege decides to keep Megumi good, we can assume that they'll be fighting the merger because, he'll be an asset to fighting the merger and this merger is going to be this super powerful being. They'll need all they can get to fight it. However, if Gege makes Megumi anything but good, we can just assume that he'll be the final boss since he'll more than likely be activating the merger. If this turns out to be the case, I want Megumi to return to the story the same exact way Demon King Meliodas did, making the entire setting just turn into complete black for aesthetic badass purposes, and plus he'll instantly convey the mindset of Megumi. I think Gege should really go that way. Whatever Megumi decides to do when he comes back will single-handedly decide the trajectory of the entire story, and I can't wait to see where it goes. With that being said, I want to thank you all for always watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.